Hello and welcome back. This is the Clay Golem. This is Foundry VTT, and in this video we're going to be looking at the 2024 rules in Foundry and the creation of a subclass. I know a few of you have been waiting for this one. It's a bit more tricky than backgrounds, but we absolutely can get there. So what you can see in the right hand side here, I've got my items open. We've got my gladiator background that we built previously. We've got that strange earth elemental species that we made just to prove a point that we could, and a whole bunch of other things. So what we're going to do in this video is create a new bardic subclass called the College of Lies. Now, I'm not going to take any credit for this. Let me share my other screen over here. For those of you familiar with Pointy Hat, you may have already come across this. I tend to avoid doing videos on creation of content and making new monsters and things like that, because Pointy Hat is just absolutely superb. If you're not familiar with Pointy Hat, please look him up on YouTube, because it will change the way that you play D&D. Absolutely brilliant. But in one of the ones, you can see it says up here, Pointy Hat. One of his videos, they were looking at subclasses. They were looking at bards, and he created a new subclass for bards, the College of Lies. And yep, this is completely freely available for you to grab. And I was looking at this and I thought, yeah, this is the subclass we're going to build. So at third level, you get this thing called Razor Tongue and Honeyed Words, Arch Bewitcher, and then Lyrebird at 14th level. So I thought I would use that as my template rather than doing something completely random like my Earth Elemental species. So we've got something to kind of work with. Now, what you will see in my items over here is I've got that Arch Bewitcher. I have that Honeyed Words, that Lyrebird, and the Razor Tongue here, as well as an item called the College of Lies. So the way these things are structured, if I go to the, excuse me, if I go into the player's handbook and we look up classes, you can see in here we've got the Bard folder. Within there we've got the Bard itself, and then we've got those subclasses in here, and then within a folder we've got the individual items for those things that come with that subclass, those features, etc., abilities and stuff. So what I started off by doing is realizing that you can't start by creating don't do it. Don't start off by creating the subclass itself. You need to start by creating the features that are within that subclass, and then you create the subclass that uses those features. So in my compendiums, you might spot at the top here, I've got my own folder, and in there I've added my backgrounds compendium, my species compendium. So my backgrounds has got my gladiator in it, my species has my earth elemental in it, and in my subclass one I have followed the same structure as the default one, just for ease, where I've got my bard folder. In there I've got my subclass, so my College of Lies, and then I've got my subclass features, and I've got my Lies one in here with those. So that's the way to order that, and at the end of the video we will put together a character using these backgrounds and these species and this subclass, and show you how to be able to incorporate these ones that we're creating directly into the normal way that you would level your characters and things, so it's nice and smooth for you, because otherwise you're kind of like, oh, I can only pick from the defaults, I can't pick from my ones. Right, so let's have a look at each of these. Let's start off with a Razor Tongue. If I just click this and open this, so nice and easy. Now remember that we don't have full automation here. We're in the 2024 rules, so the D&D 4.x game engine. We don't have fully working MIDI QOL and all of that wonderful stuff. So at the moment, we're not going to have huge amounts of automation. So this is only how to create these things. This is not how to fully automate them, because we just don't have that ability yet. MIDI QOL and DAE are around, but they're not in any kind of final form at the moment. But it's happening. It's happening. Right, so I've copied and pasted the description straight in from that document in front of you here. Doesn't really mean a lot. And of course, same with a lot of things is if we do this little tag at the top here, we can change the name. I've put it the College of Lies. You can change your image, edit the description, etc. Under details here, this is a class feature. Required level is 3. And we've got limited uses. Now, this is one that is based on you can only use it in maximum amount of times that you have your charisma modifier before you take a long rest. So we spent none by default. This in here says max, so the maximum times we can use it is brackets 1 comma at abilities dot cha charisma dot mod. So what that is saying here is 1 comma whatever the character's charisma modifier is. So a minimum of 1, maximum, or sorry, it's going to be the charisma modifier to a minimum of 1. So that's what that means. That's why it's got 1 comma. So it's going to be 1 by default, or if it's higher, we're going to use the ability charisma, the charisma modifier for the character that has it, right? So if you've got 14 charisma, that's a +2. You're going to be able to use it twice. And the recovery is every long rest, you recover all uses. So, of course, you can do, they might be recovery every short rest. It might be once per day at dawn. A lot of magic items, they recharge at dawn. Things like that, so you can use it. And recovery, you lose all uses, custom formula, recover all uses, etc. Most commonly, it's going to be long or short rest, recover all uses, with magic items using things like dawn, recover all uses. Okay, so that's how that works for that. Under activities, we haven't got any. So this is where you would do potentially some of these things in here, you know, healing, etc., depending on this ability. And that's where some of that automation comes in that is currently built into it. And the easiest thing to do is to find a subclass feature that does similar to what you want to do. Or, you know, if it's adding extra combat ability or extra defense or something like that, copy that and modify it. It's the easiest way to do it, and then you can follow that formula. And under effects here, all we have is that we have, so it says source dazzling footwork because I copied this one. That's clearly not what we're using. In fact, I could probably edit that out, but I don't need to. There's not a lot we need in here. Apply the effect to the actor. It doesn't have a duration in this particular case, and it doesn't have any effects. Now, for some things that do have effects, you can add them on. So this is the thing that changes, and it's going to add, it's going to downgrade, override, etc. by a certain number. So it could be your armor class is overridden by, you know, and becomes 18 or something like that. Now, that's not applicable in this particular instance, so we haven't got anything in here. So if we read the description, when you're doing the college, you become adept at obfuscation and obfuscating the truth through the words, through your words and presence. So wisdom insight checks to ascertain whether you're lying are done at disadvantage. So that isn't something that affects the character that has this ability. It affects other people. And that suddenly becomes really quite complicated to automate, because if somebody is making a skill check to see if you're lying, there's no targeting involved in that. So Foundry will never know that that role relates to this character, then therefore impose disadvantage on their role for them. So that's probably never ever going to be automated. Not unless you start insisting that characters target who they're making rolls against in social situations. Personally, I would never go down that road. That's going to become ridiculous. Additionally, whenever a creature you can see uses a wisdom insight check to see through a lie, they try to make an intelligence investigation check to see through an illusion, rolls a wisdom saving throw to end an effect that you've inflicted on a creature. In other words, again, when the target is making a roll, you can use your reaction roll. You can use your reaction to impose a bardic inspiration dice to subtract from their roll. So you're opposing a negative impact on their roll for a social role that they're doing, a skill that they're doing. So again, trying to actually get that to automate is going to be incredibly difficult, because once again, no way will Foundry know that that other character that's making the roll is doing it, and the bard can intercede with that. So that's going to be really, really difficult to automate. So for this one, it's quite simple. This is mostly text, and you expect the bard to be on this, their player to be on this, knowing and saying, oh yeah, by the way, that's going to be at disadvantage. So that's Razor Tongue. Honeyed Words, again, fairly similar, because a lot of these subclass features, without full automation, especially when they're homebrewed like this one is, they might have some interesting where it impacts some social situations. It's why I chose Bard, to be honest, because it illustrates some of the limitations. We have to just do it the old ways. You know, like the game was originally designed to be played, and in fact is still designed to be played, of using that imagination, the players being engaged enough to go, oh, by the way, I'm going to do this. So for this one, again, so we've got, I just changed the image for it, obviously changed it to Honeyed Words, changed the description, details, again, class feature. This also has limited uses based on that charisma modifier and recovers after long rest, just as before. For activities here, we do have one, Honeyed Words, because this is activated. So we have identity here, just called Honeyed Words. Activation, we have an activation time. It's you use your bonus action to do it. So this will show up in combat, etc., as a bonus action option for you, and it lasts for 1 turn. No concentration. What does it consume? It consumes 1 use of this ability. Now, bearing in mind that ability is connected to the amount of options. Sorry, it's connected to your charisma modifier. That's the number of times you can use it. So if you use this, it will consume it. And for this, the targeting is 60 feet. Okay, so this Honeyed Words, I didn't read the description for you. You can use this to weaken your opponent's armor class. So again, this is one of the ones, this is effectively an attack on your opponent that lowers their armor class for, so you can expend a bardic inspiration, rolling a bardic inspiration die and taking that number off of the creature's armor class only when it's targeted by spell attacks until the beginning of your next turn. So not only do we now need to have a dice roll that affects another creature's armor class, but only affects it for spell attacks. That's quite complicated with regard to the automation of that. There's going to be quite a lot of scripting involved, and without the backing of things like MIDI QOL to help with that, that's going to be really quite difficult. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to stick with the old ways of doing this, which is not a problem. And I can just manually adjust that armor class if I need to, or I can just override the Foundry dice roll and say, yes, that hits. Foundry said it didn't hit. I know that armor class has been dropped for that spell, therefore it does hit, do your damage anyway. Okay, when we don't have things like MIDI QOL automation, it's really easy just to ignore that roll or to fudge it however we want. MIDI QOL puts more controls over that, makes that slightly more tricky. Right, anyway, so we've got a range of 60 feet here, target any one creature. So that's how that all works, and the effects of this is it applies Honeyed Words. So that's just going to what that's going to apply, and it's as simple as that. Now, of course, because it is a you're using your bardic inspiration dice, we don't want it to just stay with that initial 1d6 bardic inspiration dice. As the bard goes up levels, that d6 becomes a d8, for example. We want to use the right dice. So you can see the roll formula here says at scale bard inspiration. So it's going to scale the dice used in line with that bardic dice for inspiration. So d6 or d8 or d10, depending what level the bard is, which is really nice. So we can create that one. And that's all I did for the other two as well. So I know I didn't actually finish completing the whole thing, but I've put the description and bits in for that one. And the same with the lyrebird. Now these come in at different levels. So back in that other document, these levels they come in at is razor tongue comes in at 3, honeyed word comes in at 3. I think it was the I've lost it already. It's in my other screen. So the arch bewitcher comes in at 6th level, and the lyrebird comes in at 14th. So we've got these in here. Now we've created those, we can create the actual subclass itself. So for this one, it's called the College of Lies. This is very similar. I have edited this. I've obviously changed the title. I just changed the image, and I've copied and pasted in this instance the description that came from Pointy Hat. Okay. Under details, the identifier is Lies, and the class identifier is Bard. There is no spell progression linked with this subclass. Bard spell progression is linked to the main class of Bard, not linked to the subclass. But as you know, when you look at things like Arcane Trickster, rogues don't have a skill progression, a spell progression. But if you take the subclass of Arcane Trickster, you do get a spell progression. This is where you would do that. The main class doesn't have one, but the subclass does. This is where you can use that. And again, full caster, half caster, etc. You can put that in there. We don't need to mess with that in this instance. So if we go to advanced, this is where we create the what do they get at level 3 or 4 or 7 or whatever it might be. And this is why we need to create these features first. So how we add these on, really easy. We go to the plus. We want to grant them an item. We name that item whatever we want. Let's add one of them back on again at a different level. Let's add honeyed words. Okay, we add honeyed words on. We can change the icon if we want to. They're all just staying as book icon for this. And this is where we select the level that they get that. Let's randomly pick 9 just because. And you can see at the bottom here, it says about dropping in what they get. We can take our honeyed words and we can drop this over here. Now, behind this little box, you might have seen that's just dropped in. We now have a level 9 progression honeyed words. Yes, we've got it at level 3 and we've got it at level 9, which is ridiculous, but I'm just trying to show you how that works. So I'm going to take that one out again because that's just for demonstration purposes. But we now have this subclass called the College of Lies. And as they progress through their bardic levels, they obviously get the normal bardic class features. But they also, when they hit level 3, if they have joined the College of Lies, they get honeyed words, razor tongue. At level 6, they'll get arch bewitcher. And at level 14, they'll get lyrebird. Those will automatically crop up. So that's how we create our subclass with our subclass features, they will work in very similar to the way that the default stuff does. So I have in here now, so switching over, let's look at how this actually works so that we can use these in practice in our games without having, in a nice smooth way. So we've got our folders here as part of my my compendiums, my character creation folder that's got my backgrounds, my species and my subclasses. These are all in here. When I go to create a new character or I want to add on a background, for example, it's going to give me all of the backgrounds that I want. And you can see I've got Gladiator in here. If you look at the source, playing with 4.0. Now the reason why it's saying playing with 4.0 is because that's the name of this game that I'm in. So when I created a game and I first started doing this on my alternate server, I created a game playing with 4.0 because I'm literally using it to test stuff. So this is the game world that I'm in. And you can see on the left hand side, I can say, hey, only give me the player's handbook ones, thank you, or give me everything except those, or I can say just give me from my folder. how do I get playing with 4.0 as one of the options in this list, because it's not there by default? If we go to configure settings, under the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, we've got this compendium browser sources. If I click this button, this is where it allows me to say what I do want to be able to select from. World. This is going to give all of my compendiums that I've created in this world that I can select from. And you can see I've got my backgrounds, my species, and my subclasses, which is these 3 compendiums on the right hand side that I have selected to say yes, include those. You will notice that I've got my system ones deselected. This is the SRD stuff. Now normally you would want the SRD things on, but if you've got the PHB and the DMG, well, you don't want the SRD stuff as well as those, because you're duplicating, and of course the SRD has a limited number of options. So I've just turned the whole lot off. Don't bring in the SRD stuff. But of course I have got in my DMG bits and my PHB bits. So it's going to bring in my character classes, my character origins, feats, spells and everything from the PHB, but also from my compendiums here. Okay, so that's how you set that up. Save your changes. Lovely jubbly. So here we've got Bob, who's got nothing. And now I can go through. I've actually got some stats in for Bob already, and bits like that. But I can now go through and say I want to add a background. Okay, it's not giving me the SRD. It's defaulting to the 2024 and my playing with 4.0. So I'm going to select my gladiator background. I'm going to bring that in. We've seen this already, so I'm going to whiz through this quite quickly. Just creating this. Select my traits for him. There we go. Lovely. Select a language. There we go. That's all the items that I set up, including some of the weapons that probably shouldn't be in the background. Here's where I get to pick my feat, whatever I want. Lovely. Yeah, here's me picking my weapons, which should be in the subclass rather than in the class rather than in the background. But hey, whatever. Spear. I'm having my spear. 2 of these. I'm going to take javelin and hand axe. Thank you very much. Support weapon. I'm going to be taking that. I'm going to be taking a shield and a net. Thank you very much. So we've got my gladiator in, and it's brought in those bits that I needed. So my chess set and cartographer's tools, etc. We've got those. Let's bring in my species. Again, because I've already got the filtering on, I can just go. I don't want to click there. I can bring in my earth elemental gladiator, which seems very unfair. I don't get to make any choices here, because when we built this, we said actually you get +2 constitution tough. You don't get any choices. Size. All of those things pick my proficiency based on this and get my great club, my immunities and things like that. Thank you very much. And it's brought all of those things in. So these are 100% from stuff that we've made. We're bringing this in. Vulnerabilities, thunder. We've got our condition immunities to suffocation and petrified, for example. Immunity to acid, resistance to slashing. Whatever we wanted to do. But of course, we haven't. What this video is about class. So we go to our features and I click add class. Now again, we've built a subclass. So this is not going to show us here. Let's add on Bard. Select our Bard. It's going to take us through the bits that we need to for Bard. Again, I'm just going to throw this together. Okay. Probably want to put a little bit more thought into your character when you're creating a brand new one. Let's have a drum, a horn, and bagpipes. Yeah, possibly the most annoying, noisiest instruments I could select. Excellent. Going to get my bardic inspiration spell casting. Boom. Okay. So we have now got our complete, ready to go, first level, pretty terrible bard. Yeah, called Bob. Hi Bob. All right, he's ready to go. All right, let's level Bob. So if I change this and say, right, Bob, you're going to be now level 3. Just take average for ease. Of course, it's going to do level 2 first. Select my extra proficiencies. Thank you very much. Jack of all trades, my expertise, more spells. Now this is going to be level 3. And it's 2024 rules. This is where we will select a subclass. So we'll take our average hit points. It's going to give us our spells. Select a subclass from the feature. Look here next to where we leveled. We've now got the plus to add the subclass we want. Click. We've now got the choice of the normal ones, but I've got the College of Lies in here, and you can see the source is my compendium. Woohoo! Let's tick that. Select. I get honeyed words. I get razor tongue. These are now added on here, and you can see that we've got uses for them that reset after a long rest, etc. Now, strictly speaking, these should be pulling from the same source as Bardic Inspiration. So you can use honeyed words or you can use Bardic Inspiration. So really, you shouldn't have 2 lots of honeyed words and 2 lots of Bardic Inspiration. It needs to kind of count down the Bardic Inspiration. So it's not perfect by any means. There is ways of doing that, but again, we need a little bit of scripting and stuff. That's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. What I would want to do is to create a pool of inspiration dice and then have Bardic Inspiration uses, reduce that, honeyed words, reduce that, rather than them having their separate ones. But this was just much quicker and easier to show you how to set these up. We can jump ahead a few levels. It was level 6 where we get the next one. So if we whiz through this, oh yeah, let's just take a couple of modifiers. Thank you very much. Take average. Take average. And here we go. So the College of Lies, automatically we're going to get Archbewitcher. Added that on for us. So once you've created your own backgrounds and your own species, if you choose to do so, they just become, or can easily just become, part of the normal leveling process. And of course, that's what we've just done with our subclasses as well. So you can create your own class if you wanted to, although I don't think that's particularly necessary. You're much more likely to create your own subclasses. And once you've created that subclass, you can create the features of that subclass. You can create that level progression for that subclass. And as long as you've got it included in the right compendiums, it will automatically update your characters as they level exactly how you would expect them or you would want them to do, based on the, any of the normal core ones. And I think that is pretty darn awesome. And we have just created a bard with a custom background, a custom species, and a custom subclass, and leveled them to level 6. It is so quick and easy to create and level characters within the 2024 rules, because they're in Foundry now, using that 4.0, 4.x, what are we on, 4.13 or something, 4.12, because with that, on that game engine, it's really smooth, it's really lovely, it's just beautiful. All we're missing is a higher level of automation that some of us have got used to. I am seriously, because of the ease of leveling and everything else and referencing and being able to look up the books and things within Foundry, I am seriously considering moving my existing Curse of Strahd group and transitioning over to the 2024. Now that doesn't impact the Curse of Strahd module that we're making, so don't worry about that. But they will lose a lot of the automation and the pretties. Some of the shiny automations and things like that they've got, and the animations and things, they will lose some of that. But the ease of running the game, and for them being able to just look up and see what these things are, because they've got access to the PHB directly in here, I think that's probably worth the sacrifice. So we're going to be having a vote on it in the next couple of weeks on what to do about that. but it's just so darn easy, isn't it? Anyway, as per usual, we've got to the end of the video. If you've got this far and you've made it through that last bit of rambling, thank you very much for watching. Very, very much appreciate it. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you're not subscribed, please do so. It massively helps out the channel. But to be perfectly honest, I'd rather you watched videos rather than rather than subscribe and not watch videos, because it's all about that watch time. That's what supports the channel most. And of course, if you do feel like contributing, you can make suggestions. You can pop that in the comments as well. There is a Ko-fi link in the description, and if you want to become a member of YouTube and join this channel, you're welcome to do that as well, just to show your appreciation. That would be great, and I will catch you guys in the next one. You take care. Bye bye.